Yeah, going back to that question from earlier, I do think it's kind of cool that they're remastering a lot of these games because I think a lot of these games are just stuck in like purgatory on these old consoles, and just porting them sometimes it's like they just do not feel right nowadays. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Red Essence Games podcast. I'm Nick.
I'm Arman.
And we are game developers as well as lifelong gamers. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about what kind of old games we would like remastered. We just saw the news about Dragon Quest 3 being remastered in that, like, what is it, HD 2D kind of style. And we both love Dragon Quest. Armand actually played the original Dragon Quest 3.
So Dragon Warrior 3.
It was Dragon Warrior 3 at the time. So we thought it would be cool to go through our catalog of games and try to think about other games that we would want to have like sort of a similar treatment. And also what kind of feature or game mechanic we might want to add into those old games to kind of appeal to more of a modern audience. Because I feel like we have a lot of times like rose tinted glasses on. When we think
Whatever
about
that means.
I don't know. It means like when you think about old games and you have the nostalgia, you know, you're like, oh man, that was the best game ever. And then you go and play it in 2024 and you're like, this is brutally slow. Yeah. So yeah. But yeah, before we get into the topic, we just wanted to give you guys a recap because we've been away for a couple weeks. We've been a bit busy with game development on our game Traveler's Refrain. And if you haven't heard of Traveler's Refrain, it's a 2D hand-painted action RPG which follows a wandering musician. You get to play an instrument and cast spells with it. We have a song casting mechanic. And recently we just showcased our game during Steam Next Fest a couple weeks ago. And we just wanted to thank everyone that came out to support us, to watch the stream, to play the demo, to give us feedback, to hop in our Discord and chat with us. It was really, really awesome. We are really appreciative of everyone, like, you know, helping out and kind of giving us the feedback that we got. Mm-hmm. And overall, it turned out to be an awesome event.
Yeah,
I was really, really fun and
got a lot of really good feedback. And a lot of it was stuff we'd heard previously, and we were like, all right, this is stuff that we just have to change. So, you know, sometimes we get feedback and it's hard to kind of make a very big change that maybe one person only might request, but there were some things that you know, a lot of people requested, and I think those are the things that we're really going to look at and at least refine.
So,
thanks for that.
Yeah, and it was really cool too because we hadn't shown this game really at all. It was kind of like we did do the announcement for the game earlier in the year on Steam, but this is our first time like putting out a demo to the public and like having people really play it. So yeah, it was awesome, and yeah, that was a fun time. So yeah, go check it out. The demo is still on Steam for you to download and to play. And feel free to hop in our Discord and let us know what you think.
Yeah, definitely get to playing it as soon as you can, because we're most likely going to take it down soon, just so we can focus on you know, the full game. And let us know what you think.
Yeah. Let us know in the comments too what game you want remastered. We'd be very curious to hear what you guys think, because obviously we have our own gaming experiences, but I'm sure there's some, you know, golden nuggets out there that would be pretty cool to be remastered.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. All right, let's get into the main topic. So we are going to be talking about games we would like to see remastered. What's just the first one that comes to the top of your mind?
Man, I have so many. I think for sure, I think this is one of yours too, is Drakengard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I want that so bad.
Yeah.
So bad.
It's like seeing that game with updated graphics and, you know, just like a little more meat to it, because obviously like back then it was like they only had so much they could do in the cutscenes. And it was just some guy like talking smack and then killing a guy. But yeah, you could tell like there was something else, you know, past that. But a lot of it was also just dialogue between characters and whatnot. They would definitely have to make it feel a little better to go through the motions of the game, I'd say, for sure, because there was a lot of like slow play.
Yeah, I remember we talked about this briefly in another podcast, but at the time, I remember it feeling revolutionary to like have a character and you could just sling fireballs and stuff. But if you look back at gameplay, it's quite slow, you know, especially the stuff we have nowadays. And I think that's probably the biggest thing I would want refined is like a new combat system. And especially now that we've gotten, this is another one I was going to kind of talk about, but we got Nier Replicant Remaster, and that kind of took the combat system from Nier Automata, right? Having a combat system like that, that's like really flashy and like crazy, especially, I mean, I don't know, guys. Have you heard of any game recently where you can fly on a dragon? Like just summon a dragon and...
Dragon's Dogma, can you do that in there?
No, I don't think so. The last one that I can think of, and I didn't even get this far, was in Skyrim. Don't you eventually get a dragon to fly around on?
I don't know, but they are making that. The people that made what's the Sky game where you can go in outer space?
Oh, yeah. No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky. So the team behind No Man's Sky is making the new game where you can fly around the planet and you can get like fly on a dragon or something.
Yeah,
that's probably gonna be really cool.
Yeah, it's just not the same kind of like medieval feel, you know, of like dragons and knights and stuff like that.
Well, maybe it will be. Who knows?
Maybe. But yeah, man, I would love a Drakengard remaster, updated visuals, updated cuts. It's kind of like that's a game that it's so stuck in the PS2 era that like they would have to like redo it from the ground up. I think some of these games, and that's maybe another thing we could talk about, is like the difference between a remaster and more of a remake, right? A remaster is like a new coat of paint. A remake is like they're kind of starting from the ground up again.
I'd say it'd probably need the same treatment as something like FF7 had.
Yeah.
Right? It was like a remake, but it was a remake.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't think they need to go that nuts with like changing the story and blah. Like follow the same thing.
Yeah. All the characters and stuff should still be the same. Maybe they could add a character or two to kind of make it more interesting too, but I think they need to obviously update the visuals, update the combat. You know, they have to have something very similar to the original, where it's like the guy. They have to bring that back. Otherwise, like that was such like an important part of the story. In my opinion. The guy with like all the old guy with all like the tattoos on his head. Right? Was it like his brain, or was it?
No,
was it his brain wrinkles, or was it a tattoo?
I think they were just tattoos.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe they were brain wrinkle tattoos.
Dude, that guy, was that the guy? That's like, yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, that game is messed up, man.
It is messed up.
We should just go and do a deep dive. You know what? I hooked up my PS2 again. We should like play it at some point and just see how it feels nowadays.
Yeah.
Because I definitely have like this memory from like 15 years ago playing it. But yeah, it kind of made me think, because I know this isn't like, I mean, this is a game that they are remastering, but we haven't gotten our hands on it yet, obviously. But they're remastering Metal Gear Solid 3.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm kind of curious how much is going to be different in that. Or if it's just going to kind of be the same. Like, it kind of looks like it's just the same game.
Yeah, it does look very the same. I think that's okay, honestly, because the game itself was excellent. You know, maybe they could refine some things in terms of, like, maybe they can make the AI a little smarter with, like, the clothing detection, because in that game you had to like put on different clothing to blend in, which was pretty cool. But I felt like sometimes you'd get spotted, even though like you didn't know if you were gonna get spotted or not. I guess there was like a percentage chance or something that you might get spotted. But yeah, I think the game looks gorgeous from what they've shown.
I think it looks awesome.
And the music, they brought back like the stealth, like dun 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 dun. Like yes, that's like I heard that and I got so excited.
But that's another scenario of like a PS2 game that, in my opinion, I mean, even back then I remember the quality of life was kind of annoying. So like I understand that it was like a survival game, but I remember having to eat a rat like every 5 freaking seconds in that game. And I hope that that's a thing that they either kind of modify the system or make it more fun. Because it felt like every couple seconds, you know, every couple minutes, whatever, you had to like go into your menu to eat something, right?
Yeah.
Or else you like lost health.
I forget what it was. I remember you could smoke a cigarette though. And like,
what did that do? Like,
it lowered
paused
your
appetite?
stamina, or it lowered your health but increased your stamina.
Oh, okay. That's right.
Something like that.
Yeah, the stamina is what had to do with the food, right? Yeah, and there's like the rations and everything.
Which was kind of interesting because, like, cigarettes are bad for you. So he would smoke the cigarette and his health would go down. And
it's
like a stimulant.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, so tell us about a game that you really want to see remastered.
Okay, so this game has been remastered multiple times, but in my opinion, it's been remastered poorly.
Okay.
I want Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow remastered in a good way. Like, I want that to have the FF7 remaster, treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want a beautiful art style. You know what would be the best? And I think this is something we've talked about before, maybe in our first episode about Pokemon, but I almost want them to do like that watercolor look that was in the original art, but with 3D models. Like if they did some sort of cool like anime shader to give it that like watercolory look, would be so sick.
You know what they should do?
Huh?
I just thought of this. You know how Persona 5 is?
Yeah.
With like just I don't know, it's just like the story and like, you know, the characters and stuff.
Yeah,
like they should make like almost like a blend between Pokemon and
Persona. Where there's like a day-to-day kind of
system? Or like a day-to-day system, or like, you know, you wake up in the beginning and you're like, you know, you got to go in and get your first Pokemon, and it's like first day, second day.
I see.
You go get your Pokemon, and then third day, like it runs away, and you have to go chase it. You know, stuff like that. Like
more like a story-driven game, as opposed. Is that kind of what you're saying? Like,
well, not all story-driven. Obviously, we want the combat to be fun, but I think
more
some
like
variants
events.
in the combat might be. More events.
Yeah. And it feels like even the new Pokemon games are kind of lacking with those. Like, it's. I get that you're supposed to be the trainer, but it would be interesting to have a Pokemon game where he is the character, like actually the character, and is going on this adventure to whatever, become the Pokemon master.
Yeah.
And I would want Arceus systems, like where you actually aim and throw the Pokeballs, you like crouch in the grass and sneak up on them, stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree. I think, there's a lot they can do. In terms of actually giving the character a personality, maybe at least this time around. Why don't they just make a male and a female character, or you know, an extra other character, so people can play, you know, with a character that has a personality of some kind.
Yeah.
Rather than just being like a. Dun, dun, dun,
and then in the cutscenes they're like this.
Yeah.
And there's subtitles.
The hot dog on it.
Oh my god. We don't speak of that.
Yeah. That's a Scarlet and Violet meme.
Yeah.
I haven't played that. But yeah, they need to really just change it up, but they're not going to. Obviously.
I know they're not going to.
Oh, and another thing about Red and Blue is and Yellow is that back then the villains were a lot more villainous too. Like it was Team Rocket, and they would just like blow stuff up, or like they would steal stuff, and they just felt like bad guys.
Yeah, they did.
And
feel
then
like
at
bad
the head
guys.
was Giovanni.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, I have to fight this guy as the 8th gym leader?
Yeah, that was a cool reveal too.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say too? Did you play the? I always want to call it "Hey You Pikachu."
Let's go Pikachu.
Let's go Pikachu and Eevee.
Hey you Pikachu.
Did you play it?
Yeah, I beat it. Yeah.
You beat it? Yeah.
Probably the easiest Pokemon game I ever played.
Dude, yeah, I played like a third of it, and I just got so bored. And I also got annoyed because it always felt like even though I was slinging the Wiimote perfectly straight, the ball would go whoop, whoop. So I was like wasting all the Pokeballs.
Wasn't it on Switch?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. This did I say the Wiimote?
Yeah. I was like, what are you talking about?
The Switch controller. Yeah. It felt like it was always like slinging to the side.
I honestly forgot that mechanic was even in there.
Yeah, dude, that was like the whole thing. That's why it was like so boring, because it was like you didn't actually battle the wild Pokemon, you just caught them over and over and over.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, you only battled other trainers.
Oh, that's so lame.
Yeah, and the way
was it
to
for
get
first time Pokemon people maybe.
Dude, we were first time Pokemon people. We played it when we were like 7 years old, you know?
I know.
But the other thing too that was weird was I remember you had to keep catching the same Pokemon over and over in the grassy area to reveal like the rarer ones. It's like you had
the
to
shinies?
No, not even the shinies. Like, let's say a Mankey was like a rare one in that grass patch. You'd have to catch like 12 Nidorans in order to get a Mankey to appear. Yeah, it's so dumb.
Yeah. I
So
remember there was something annoying about it.
I just don't know.
And the experience share is always on, right?
I think
You don't even like There's no like nothing.
game.
There's no game, dude.
I know. I like the way it looked. The art style was like not bad, but
Yeah.
it just felt like, oh man, I
Doesn't
don't
the
know.
Pokemon sit on your head too, or something? Or is it the Eevee that sits on your head?
I think Pikachu,
Pikachu's on your
it's
shoulder or
or something
something.
like that. Yeah, that was.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah, and it did. There were more kind of cutscenes. I remember that
Yeah.
being kind of interesting. But it's like, why would they change the system that much for something so nostalgic to people?
Yeah.
That was weird. Weird choice. All right, let's do another one.
All right, I'm gonna take this one because
Yeah.
one of my favorite. This might be my favorite game of all time.
Yeah,
Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of
yeah,
Time.
yeah.
And I don't want them to just rush it and put it out. Like I
Mhm.
want it. Like that game just needs to come out and it needs to be perfect.
Yeah.
But I will say I'm totally okay with them adding things.
Mm-hmm.
Like adding more enemies, adding, maybe making the encounters a little more difficult or the combat a little
Yeah.
more difficult. Like,
And
I'm
more
totally-
just interesting combat in general.
yeah. And not, I'm honestly done with the whole like Breath of the Wild, like combat system. I mean, it's okay if they have some of that, but I want them to focus on, I want just like the experience that we had back then.
Yeah.
I don't want like the new stuff, honestly, in there.
But it just felt like there's more, like you could kind of dodge and parry with your shield, and like there's more slash. There's a little bit more strategy with. Whereas in Ocarina of Time, it's like yeah.
Well,
you know?
Ocarina of Time, it was more dodge and attack,
Yeah,
or like sidestep attack. And I mean, Ocarina of Time's combat system was a lot simpler.
Mhm.
Yeah, a lot of times you just have to wait for an opening. I guess it was just a product of like the technology at the time.
yeah.
might
It
have been
was.
a little more difficult. I'm okay with them like, adding some interesting mechanics to the combat
Mhm.
too. I think that's totally fine. I want the story to stay in place. Obviously, maybe they fill in some of the gaps in some of the areas.
Dude, you haven't read the manga of Ocarina of Time, right? You should read that because that's what's really cool. Actually, all of the Zelda manga books, if anybody's read them, let me know in the comments. But what's so cool about them is they feel like these big adventurous stories. And then when you go back and you play the games, it's like the adventure is more getting from point A to point B, it feels like, and kind of like seeing, but it's like there's actual mini story scenarios in the manga. Obviously, it's like a book, you kind of have to fill it up with stuff, but it's almost like I wish they would adapt some of those storylines to a remaster or remake of one of these games. It would just be so cool. Like even who's the girl, that the farm girl, for example, Malin. Like there's like a whole like adventure thing with her and like a whole quest, know? Like that would be really cool to add into a Ocarina of Time remake.
I agree. And even like in Ocarina of Time, like you meet Zelda, you only really meet Zelda, like you only see Zelda 1, 2, 3 times.
Yeah.
Right? Not including Sheik.
Yeah.
You see Zelda when she's a kid, when you
Mhm.
first see her. And then you see her a second time when Ganondorf is taking her from the castle.
Yeah.
And then the third time is you see her at the end.
Yeah. You
in
don't
the
have a lot of
crystal.
interaction.
Oh, actually, you see her in the Temple of Time as well before she gets captured. So 4 times.
Yeah.
And they're like very brief interactions.
Yeah. I think they could. I think they could really expand on like the dialogue and stuff, and that's kind of what they did well. I think especially in Tears of the Kingdom, there was a lot more story, and it felt like, like I actually care about these characters to a certain extent. And I know that's not like the point of Zelda. It's more like the adventure and the puzzles and stuff like that. But it just feels like that would make it the whole package if they could really double down on like events and quests and
like,
story.
They kind of added a bit of that in Majora's Mask.
Like
in like the town, like people had like problems to solve.
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
So I think that could be something that they might add in a remake of some kind.
Yeah. What did you think about the 3DS remake or remaster?
Good.
Yeah.
It was good. Yeah, I mean, it looked good. It played really well, and I love the Master Quest too. And that was really fun. Take on Zelda. So I think, I don't know, like if I play it again, would I get bored if I played through the same dungeon again? Maybe I just want that nostalgia. Or if they had some way of like changing the dungeon and you could like
I think they should
change
just
a setting in the game that's like
changes it
master
back
mode or something, and it does something different, like from master. It's like a new dungeon version or something.
Yeah, I'd almost want that to be like a Final Fantasy VII remake. Like they just overhaul, like because it's another one of those best games of all time across.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people feel that way, you know? So giving it this treatment of making it a really dense, like crazy experience, I think would be so freaking cool, you know? And then on the other hand, part of me is like, well, why wouldn't they just make a new Zelda game that's like kind of inspired? Because that's what Twilight Princess kind of felt like. It was more inspired by Ocarina of Time, especially after coming off of Wind Waker, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't know. But yeah, I think
liked in Twilight Princess how you could learn those moves.
Yeah, from the knight.
That was cool.
Yeah, and do you know the knight is the Link?
Original Link
from Ocarina of Time.
Is it really?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I knew he was a Link.
Yeah,
but...
that's like canon.
Is it?
Yeah, I think it's the Link that like failed to defeat Ganon or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The
so
timeline splits off.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Okay, so here's another one I want to talk about because they showed us Dragon Quest III Remaster. It looks beautiful. I think they're going to give us a lot of quality of life adjustments. I think it kind of looks like they're going to add stuff, but I didn't play all the way through the original, so I don't know like how dense that game is. But they also said that they're going to remaster Dragon Quest 1 and 2. I'm very curious how the heck they're going to do that, because if anybody's played Dragon Quest 1 or Dragon Warrior 1, whatever, it is such a simple game. Like it's you could probably, if you know where you're going, you could probably beat it in like 8 hours or 7 hours even.
See, I never played those ones. I remember seeing Dragon Warrior Monsters 1 and 2, and I had friends who played that, but I didn't have them.
Yeah, those were Game Boy games, right? Yeah. I actually pulled out my cart so I could show you later if we have some time. But it's really bizarre because, you know, in most of these old RPGs, we're used to seeing like a party system. But in Dragon Warrior 1, you just play as the one character. It's just weird. So there's not really a lot of strategy in terms of like, you know, who does what and who attacks who. And Dragon Warrior 1 predates Final Fantasy 1 by like, I think, a year and a half. So it's kind of like it was one of the earliest turn-based RPGs, and it's brutal, dude. Like I never beat the original Nintendo cart that I had, but I played like the first remaster that they did on mobile. And it's like it's very obtuse too. So like I specifically remember there's this one part where they're like, okay, you have to find this legendary armor, right? You have to go to some obscure town that's like all broken down, and it's like an invisible item pickup.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
Like you have to just walk around and go, A.
You have to wait until the character goes like boom, boom, boom. And like you bumped into like a thing.
Yeah. Boom. It's like a requirement to get through the story, you know? No. So it's like
bad game design.
Well, it's like just old game design. So that's what I'm curious. Like, what do you think they're gonna do in a remake for a game that's like that?
They're gonna have to make it so like one character can fight multiple enemies and make it interesting. Like maybe instead of attacking one thing, your attack hits like the enemy and the one next to it, and then you do like you can combo it with like a spell or something. Maybe make it more like real.
What about the story and stuff like that too, of like finding the invisible chest? Like, you think they'll make it more clear? Like, are they gonna make it easier? They have to, right?
No.
They have to.
I hope so.
Yeah. It's just it's interesting. Those first two, I never played the second one either, but as far as I know, that one's really short as well. So I think that's why they're kind of doing 3 first, and then they're doing 1 and 2 second, because they're kind of packaging them together. And it's cool too that it's like it's kind of like a trilogy where Dragon Quest 3 is like the prequel to 1 and 2. So yeah, I'm very excited about that. But that being said too, the other one that I want remastered is Final Fantasy 1.
Oh, okay.
And I want it to be remastered
with
in
the Lich.
With the Lich? Is that what you said? Yeah, it's
the
one
Lich
of the
King.
Yeah,
not the Lich King.
It's one of those enemies, right?
Lich or the Lich or whatever.
I think it's called a Lich. Is it
the Lich, the first boss, right?
It's not, I thought the first boss was like a vampire or something.
Not Golbez. It's from the 4th one, right?
Yeah, Golbez is the 4th one. Yeah. No, the first one. What the heck is?
What's the name of the boss in the first one?
Oh my god,
the Lich.
He's not a Lich. He's a knight.
No, the
Dude,
Lich,
this is
dude.
gonna drive me nuts. What the heck is the bad guy's name?
You have to remember it.
FF1 final boss name.
No, it's not the final boss. It's the first boss.
Oh, Chaos. Wait,
Not Chaos. Not the first boss.
Yeah, he's the first and
The
last.
Chaos boss fight is actually really fun.
Yeah.
Especially in this version of the game.
Oh my god, what is his name?
Garland.
He is Chaos, or
Is
he
he?
becomes
Oh,
Chaos.
okay.
Yeah, dude. The story in Final Fantasy 1 is also like pretty interesting for such an old RPG with like a weird time loop, and it's kind of like,
I don't remember shit about.
dude, you got to
First one.
replay it. It's also like not that long to get through. You can get the Pixel remaster on your Switch and just like plow through it, but it's pretty cool, man. So yeah, I would love for them to remake that with and they just remade it as the Pixel remaster.
Maybe you have more context because you played Stranger of Paradise.
No. I mean, I recently replayed the Pixel remaster last year, and I was like, wow, the story is like much more intricate than I thought it was.
Yeah. I just didn't like the resource system in that game. I felt like it was kind of punishing.
In those Pixel remasters, they fixed
They
fixed all those things. So yeah, I guess I'm asking for a remaster, and part of me is like, I wish they would do the HD 2D. The Pixel remaster, like
they need to Pixel remaster, or like they need a HD remake of 4.
I agree.
They have some really cool characters.
I agree. Yeah, part of me is like, do I want them to be just pixel games, or it's like, wouldn't it be cool if they did some sort of 3D version,
like a Dragon Quest 11 type of thing?
Oh my god,
that would be
so sick with that kind of art style too.
Yeah, if only.
Yeah. And you didn't play Stranger of Paradise, right? That game's bizarre, dude. It's bizarre. You literally play. I mean, this is kind of a spoiler, but like, I think everyone knows this. You play as Garland. Garland is Jack, the character. So it's kind of cool to see like how he transitions into a bad guy. So that was kind of an interesting way to like connect it. But that's another one of those scenarios where it's like, Final Fantasy 1 is such a like, important game in history. Why would they make like a Souls-like game spin-off of Final Fantasy 1? It's just such a bizarre decision.
Was it Souls-like?
Yeah. It was like you died and you left your stuff. You'd have to go and retrieve it, and it was like really crazy action combat. It was really fun, but yeah, it was just a weird game. So, all right, why don't you give us another one?
Sure. Oh man, there's so many GameCube games that I want remastered, honestly, because those are so nostalgic for me. Like right off the bat, one of them is, I mean, I talk about this game literally all the time, but Custom Robo. There is a studio that is making a kind of like a spiritual successor called Battle Core Robots. And I played the demo and it was actually really fun. And it felt a lot like Custom Robo. So I'm really looking forward to that game. So that'll just kind of quench my thirst. I will say,
what would you do differently if they remade it, or what would you add?
What would I add? I really think that I mean, there's a lot of things I think I'd add. First of all, there's a bit too much dialogue in the game. It's not always a bad thing, but in this game, there's literally one sequence that takes like 30 minutes. It's like 30 minutes of dialogue, and they like literally fill in like the entire story like within 30 minutes, and then just catch you up like completely. It's like, oh come on.
Yeah.
But I thought the characters were funny. It has like that like Japanese charm, like that anime style charm to it that I really loved. And the combat was really fun. I think they could maybe make it online, maybe make it multiplayer. That might be really fun for people to fight each other. Some more challenging modes, because I feel like, a lot of the time you're just kind of challenging yourself almost. So yeah, I think there's a lot of cool stuff they could do there. Maybe add more robots, add more parts, more abilities, whatnot. So yeah.
If you could compare it, like if it got a visual upgrade, like what would you want it to look like?
What would I want it to look like? That's a good question. I'm trying to think of a game.
Because it's kind of got like almost like, I don't want to quite say like a chibi art style, but like it's an old school GameCube game, so it has more like that top down.
It's not chibi.
But it's like, because it's top down, the characters kind of have like exaggerated proportions and stuff, right?
No, they don't. I don't know. Maybe you saw a screenshot that. Maybe you saw a different screenshot, but or maybe there's another one that's on Game Boy. Maybe you saw that one. That one might be chibi actually.
I just mean like they don't look like real people. They look like anime characters.
Yeah,
for
sure. Yeah. So yeah, definitely want that remastered. I'll just kind of spitball a couple more here.
Yeah.
Mario Kart Double Dash, aka the best Mario Kart game ever made.
I never played. That was on DS, right?
No, it was on GameCube.
Oh, I never played that one actually.
It's really fun because you had 2 characters on each cart, and you could switch between them.
What did they do differently?
So each character has their own special.
Okay.
So you kind of like pick one that, like the Koopas, for example, they get shells. So the only thing that was not that great was that if one person picked a character, you couldn't pick it also. So I think they'd probably have to change that, let people kind of like pick the same character if they want.
Dude, can I talk about what I would love if they remastered or just did a new Mario Kart? Because I have this idea in my head. I want a Mario Kart that's like Need for Speed and the new ones. So the new Need for Speed games are like open world and there's a story. It's a dumb story. That's interesting idea. But it's like, can't you imagine how
like they're driving around Mushroom Kingdom or something?
Yeah, you know, especially after watching the Mario movie, like how fun would it be if like you rolled up and like you do a little quest with one of the characters.
Donkey
you gotta
Kong
like
gives you a banana,
or you have to like they're like, oh, you know, Bowser put this wooden board in front of this thing. You have to go like drive up a ramp and smash through it or something like that. You know, just like mini little quests like that. Obviously, you'd still have the racing, you'd still have the online thing, but the coolest thing about Need for Speed, it's kind of like in Custom Robo. It's the whole concept of getting parts and being able to customize your kart. And they kind of did that with Mario Kart 8, right? Like you can unlock new pieces, but it doesn't really feel like you're really changing stuff. You know?
They should take the essence of Mario Kart 8, like the graphics look good.
Yeah, I love
take the graphics. Take all the characters, maybe not all of them, but or make some NPCs of them, but take a core group that people like and make a story out of it. Like put them. They have so many cool maps.
Give it like progression. I think that's the biggest thing. Is like maybe I know
you
they
start
would
off with
never...
the dinky car and then you like upgrade it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like in these games, it just feels like you buy the game, and it's like the sports games too. It's like you buy the game and then you just do the same thing over and over and over and over and over. And it's like, yeah, it's really fun and it's really tight, but they've already mastered how Mario Kart should feel.
Yeah,
like give it a campaign, a single player mode, you know?
Yeah, I think sports games are so annoying because the AI. I mean, the AI is good. It is good, but losing it to an AI in sports games is the worst feeling because you're like, as a programmer, you know, like it's literally just luck. It's just like a percentage, right? So it's not somebody losing or beating you, right?
Or in Mario Kart, they have like the rubber banding thing where like they'll just catch up to you.
Yes,
you know, it's so annoying.
They kind of have to do that, I think, because if they didn't do that, then no one would ever beat you. They always give like 3 other racers like speed bonuses or like intelligence over the others. They need to be able to like kind of keep up with you at the top.
But sometimes it just feels like it's cheating, where it's like I'm a mile ahead of somebody, and then all of a sudden they just whiz past me at the last second.
They do that in. Unfortunately, that's a really frustrating mechanic that they have in like a lot of newer racing games, like Asphalt, even Need for Speed. Heat had that, where it's like if your car wasn't like, if the level of your car wasn't higher than the required level of the map.
Oh yeah,
you just
can't beat them.
You could probably get second place, but you'll never get first. I mean, you maybe can, but
there's a lot of grinding in that game. It feels like. This is a tangent, but did you play the new one yet? I want to. Have you seen it? Do you know Into the Spider-Verse, how it has that like kind of comic booky effect?
Yeah.
So the new one has like when smoke comes out of the car, it looks like comic book smoke, and the characters are all kind of stylized and stuff, but the cars and the environments are realistic. So
Oh.
it's this cool like juxtaposition of like cartoony and then like super realistic.
Oh, that's
It
cool.
looks sick, dude.
Yeah. All right, I
Yeah.
gotta check that out.
Yeah, I want to play it.
One more here that I'll do for GameCube is let's see, where is it?
I honestly never I think cuz I was like a kid and didn't have a lot of money at the time. I didn't have that many GameCube games. So I feel like a lot of the GameCube games that I have, they've already remastered. They remastered Wind Waker. They remastered Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. They've since ported Luigi's Mansion, right? Or they are porting it.
They're doing a 2D the one for the second one there.
But I think they did the first one too, right? Or
They?
did they not?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, original Luigi's Mansion. I don't think I ever beat it. I can't remember if I finished the original Luigi's
dude.
Mansion. I have the third one. I'm playing through that.
The end the end was really cool. I think you I don't do you want me to spoil it?
No, don't spoil
Okay,
it.
okay.
So last one here is Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, which is like one of the greatest games of all time. It's one of those games where you like replay it now and you're like,
Did you play Sonic
it was more fun when I was a kid.
Frontier? Because it
No.
almost feels like that looks like a spiritual successor.
Yeah, no, it looks cool. I wanted to try it,
But it looks like they took like a generic Unreal 5 engine grasslands
right.
and just put like weird ramps in the middle of it.
Yeah. That's kind of what Sonic is anyway.
Yeah.
I think it looking so realistic makes it even worse.
Weird.
Because
Yeah.
I mean that's basically what Sonic is. It's literally just like tracks in the middle of freaking nowhere. Right?
Yeah, but in Sonic Battle Adventure 2, it's like even the buildings and stuff had kind of a stylized look to them. Like they looked like they fit the style of Sonic because he's like a weird looking cartoony character too. So yeah, when you have like a realistic bush next to Sonic or whatever, like a mountain, it just looks weird.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you mean. I mean, there's so many levels in Sonic Adventure 2 Battle that it's literally on top of the ocean. It's like on an oil rig or something, and it's just like, what is happening? But I mean, they had like cool ones where you go into like the pyramids and like you eventually go into outer space, and they had some really cool like levels there. I mean, I got.
What would you do differently in that?
What
if they remastered it?
They remastered it. I'd say just kind of make the controls less clunky. I thought the controls were super clunky when I replayed it. Made it really difficult for me to play. But yeah, other than that, I'd say keep the story. Maybe elaborate on the story elements just a little more. And then also there was a racing mode in it that was like really jank.
Yeah, I never played that.
It was really bad, but it was cool. And there was a combat mode where you could fight against somebody else, which was fun. And also one more thing to change there. And the Chow stuff. They definitely have to bring the Chow stuff back, and maybe add like new modes for the Chow. Like they had racing and they had karate, but maybe they can add like basketball or something else like fun too. Would be or a racing like a car racing for the Chows too. Maybe could be cool. Yeah. So.
Are you? Oh, I feel like I've played a lot more of these than you, but like, are you kind of getting sick of all these remasters? Or are you liking that they've been remastering so many of these old games?
Yeah, that's a good question. To be honest, like I haven't like gotten around to playing too many remasters. It just, to me, honestly, it like doesn't feel like much of a difference a lot of the time to the point of warranting me playing it, but. A lot of it just comes down to time and obviously money. Like
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'd like to play more remasters for sure. But it's almost like I'm waiting for. I kind of wish they waited for the graphics to get really good. I mean, on the Switch, the graphics are okay at best.
Oh, you're saying for Nintendo games.
I kind of wish they just waited until like.
Well, a lot of
graphics got
a lot of these other console remasters like Near Replicant, like that's night and day. What it looks like, and it plays night and day, but for everything else it's basically exactly the same. So that was a really cool, but at the core that game originally had a really it's like they didn't need to change anything,
right?
Except for the combat. They made the combat more like fun and flashy and stuff like that. So the one I really want to play, because if you went and played the original Demon's Souls nowadays, like it's just like brutal.
Yeah.
And the new one looks beautiful, but I never got around to playing that one.
Mm-hmm.
So
what's another one that you've got?
another one that I really want remastered that there's rumors that have been coming out is that they're gonna remaster a lot of the old Assassin's Creed games.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so Assassin's Creed 1, I think, is the only game in the entire franchise that is stuck on the PS3. Like, there's no way to play that game if you don't have a PS3.
Really?
And I think every single other
I
one,
don't think I played it on PS3. I think I played it on Xbox.
or whatever that generation
Right,
was.
gen?
That's what
Okay.
I meant.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like stuck on that generation. They never ported it again.
Right.
Even Assassin's Creed 2, it's like you could play that on Switch now, you can play it on PC, you can play it on PS5, whatever. But yeah, I heard they're gonna remaster or remake Assassin's Creed 1, and then also I think maybe the Ezio ones too, which I think is going to be awesome, honestly, because those early ones are what made the franchise. It's obvious, but like made the franchise so unique and special. And I feel like a lot of the newer Assassin's Creeds have kind of started to lose what originally made them feel weird and special.
What is that?
For me, it's a lot of the modern day stuff that they're connecting in this like weird battle between the Templars and the Assassins. It's kind of like anymore.
You want more of that, or you?
Yeah, I wanted to go back to that because
Right.
what they were doing for the longest time, and this isn't really a spoiler. It's just kind of like the way the story was going was when these games originally released, they were building up to 2012, and 2012 was like the Mayan apocalypse, right? So it's kind of like that's in the game series every year. They were like kept being like 2012 is coming. There's something that's gonna happen, and then it's kind of like after that happened, they started to lose focus with that because there's so many people complaining like, oh, I don't like running around as Desmond, it's so boring. But I thought that was what was so cool about the franchise was like you finally got into modern day and what it felt like they were leading up to, and maybe they were and then they scrapped it, but it felt like they were leading Desmond to become an assassin in present day. And you were going to go around in a present day city as an assassin finally. And then it's just like at one point you literally got to play as him and like climb up stuff and start hopping around, but it was like a 10-minute sequence, you know? And in the new games, I don't know what they're going to do in the Japan one. What is it called again? Shadows, yeah. But it just feels like they're just in the past couple ones they're starting to bring back the modern day stuff, but it still kind of takes a backseat.
What about like the mechanics? Like they must have added a ton of mechanics from the first one to the newest, right?
Yeah. So that is the thing that if they did remaster Assassin's Creed 1, they have to overhaul how it feels because it's like I'm sure if you went back and played that today, it'd feel very slow and it's very open and like there's just not a lot. You know, you
even do like jump assassins from like a.
You could. Yeah. There was still like a lot of the core mechanics were from the original.
Makes me want to replay or like play an Assassin's Creed game.
Dude, oh man, there's it's
maybe I'll see if there's a Steam sale going on.
Yeah, or you could just wait till Shadows. Honestly though, Mirage that just came out was probably one of the most fun ones for me because it felt like the old ones.
Oh, really?
It was a very small contained city. You're in Baghdad like the whole time pretty much. And the story was really cool. There's a cool plot twist. I like the main character. But there's absolutely no connection. There's no modern day stuff in that game. But his character is connect. You have to play Valhalla to understand who he even is. That's what's weird about it. But I would still play it if you just are itching to play an Assassin's Creed game.
All right.
The other one
was Valhalla good?
It was really good. It probably had the best story, and I know you like the moral conundrums and the like.
I like the Viking stuff too.
Yeah, the Viking stuff and the politics. You know, you might actually really, really like that one. I would play that if you're interested in getting back to
Valhalla.
It's just long, dude. Right. It's a long.
You got it on PS4?
I got it on. No, I actually got it on PS5.
Dang it.
Yeah.
I'll say let me borrow that.
Yeah, I have it on PS5. But that one I feel like you could probably pick that up for cheap nowadays. All right, so another franchise that I want remastered so freaking bad is old Devil May Cry, and I want them to do it like they've been doing Resident Evil. I wish they would just do it like, you know how they've been doing Resident Evil 2, 3, 4, and now they're probably going to do 5 and 6, I would imagine. And it's like they just look absolutely beautiful. I want Devil May Cry to look like Devil May Cry 5, but play like the old one, where you're like in a giant castle, you're getting like keys and unlocking doors and stuff like that. But I just think that would be really fun to kind of go back to.
Yeah. I never played the first Devil May Cry, so.
What is the first one you played?
I think 4.
Oh, 4. Okay.
Yeah.
4 kind of has that feel of like what an old DMC plays like, but yeah. It's just the I think you should at some point play Devil May Cry 1, because especially since you're a huge Resident Evil fan, you're going to see how that series kind of spun from that, the guts of that.
Right.
It feels like you're playing a Resident Evil game, but you're playing as this dude with a crazy sword and killing demons. Yeah. Even like, you know, in Resident Evil,
like gothic feel kind of.
No, it's even the gameplay. Like, you know, in Resident Evil, like you get a key and it goes gong, like key got it, like shows it on the screen. Like, you know, that feeling.
Right.
That's what it feels like. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
What you're saying. What about Ninja Gaiden? Remember that?
I only played Ninja Gaiden Sigma or whatever, which was a remaster of the first one. I didn't really like that series, honestly. Ninjas are like okay to me.
All right.
I'm more into demons.
Yeah.
Gothic stuff.
Sure, dude.
Yeah. All right. Do you have
I put on there Guitar Hero 2. You know, like I wish they just like brought that stuff back. Like,
yeah. Man, I never really got into that, honestly. But
it's so cool. It's like it's something fun to do with like your friends. You'd probably have a lot of fun playing it now. It's a good time.
I'd rather just play my real guitar.
Yeah, but it's like it's fun to just like play, you know, I don't know, a game where you have to click the buttons.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've kind of talked about this before. I have that, like, I like rhythm games. I play that Final Fantasy rhythm game. There's a Kingdom Hearts rhythm game that I really like too. And
you're a rhythm game enthusiast.
I actually really like them, but I don't know, man. It's just because and I know you play guitar too, but because I play guitar, I always felt like, it felt like sacrilege.
I know
to hold that thing in my hand.
Well, my meme was always like, it's easier to play this on guitar than this game.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Like the tapping part of Through the Fire and the Flames, you could probably do that on guitar pretty easily versus like on the thing. Yeah.
And I think the other thing that turned me off is because I play lefty. It was always a pain in the ass to flip it upside down and to change the settings and do all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, like, do they even make like DDR dance pads anymore?
I don't know. I think they still make DDR. I think they still make DDR games. I don't know if they make the dance pads. Maybe.
Yeah, they have to, right? House with your controller.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Or maybe I guess with the Switch controllers you can like dance now, right?
Oh, I know there are games like
detection or like maybe you strap something to your leg.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. Interesting. Let me see. What else do we have on here? There's some of these on here that are like, because especially you just played Sea of Stars, you know, like it I feel like for you to go back and find a way to play Chrono Trigger, it's like almost a hassle.
How would I even play it?
I mean, you could play it on PC.
I might go back and play it, honestly.
Really?
I loved Sea of Stars so much, so if it was based on Chrono Trigger, I'd probably really like Chrono Trigger.
Chrono Trigger is really weird, dude, because there's like a whole cast of characters, but you don't have to get all of them. And it's like there's something like 15 different endings you can get.
Really?
Yeah, it's like very bizarre the way it plays, but the combat system is like Sea of Stars, and it's Akira Toriyama designed it.
Right.
And I don't know if they did this in the PC ports, but I have the PS1, like they did an edition on PS1, and they had cutscenes, and it looks like DBZ. Like they had like animated cutscenes, and it was so cool, dude.
Mm.
It felt so rewarding to finally get to the cutscene. You're
Yeah.
like, oh my god, I'm watching like Dragon Ball, but it's
That's cool.
kind of like Final Fantasy.
Here's one that I'll just throw out real quick.
Yeah.
Pokemon Pinball.
Have they not done one?
I don't think so.
Really? Yeah, I
think they did
I could
I
get into
think they
that.
had a Pokemon Pinball too, maybe.
Uh,
But yeah, like Pokemon Pinball, like
yeah.
it was just such a fun game to play on the go.
Mm.
You know, like just such a good time. And you know, it was hard to you had to like basically find all the Pokemon, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Go to each level, and it's like after you beat each level twice, the third time you got to the boss, it was like a new boss, like Mewtwo or like Rayquaza or I don't know, something like that, right? So yeah, I just wish they
I like games like
back.
that are like not originally intended to have like a what do you call it? Like a thing to complete. Like pinball's like always originally you get a high score, right? But I like that they take pinball and they're like, let's actually make it a game. Like give it mechanics, you know what I mean?
Like you basically there's a way to like find a new Pokemon, and then there's these little bumpers at the top. You have to hit the bumpers to reveal the panels of the Pokemon.
Yeah.
And then the ball has to fall and it has to hit the Pokemon.
Oh,
you have to hit the Pokemon with the ball.
Got it.
And the ball evolves the longer it stays alive. So it'll eventually become a master ball.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I never played it. I always wanted to play it. Dude, when I modded my Game Boy, I literally put in a bid for a Pokemon pinball cart. It was like $10, and I think I like lost the bid last second.
Oh, really?
Because I was like, oh man, this looks fun. I feel like Pokemon pinball is like, I wouldn't put it past them to do that, because they made a new Pokemon Snap, right? They made a new Detective Pikachu game. They made a bunch of like new old Pokemon games. So I feel like that could happen for sure. Oh, you had written on here what Dragon Age 1, right?
Dragon Age 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
That
that game was so good.
That would be sick.
I'd love to see a HD remake of that. And honestly, I don't think it needs much. It just needs to be kind of freshened up and
look nicer.
Yeah.
What
Such
have you
eerie,
seen? Have you seen what the new one looks like? Yeah.
Like poop. It looks awful, honestly. I don't know, like part of me is kind of excited to play a new Dragon Age game, but I like compare. Here's another pet peeve of mine. All right, so here's a pet peeve of mine. When you're playing a trailer for a very like more so serious game title, don't put on like the goofiest like happy soundtrack that you can find.
Wait, did they do like licensed music or something?
Yeah,
I forget.
But it was like this like upbeat like let's get like no, like give it like make it feel like dark and impactful.
Dude,
like,
I remember
so
specifically like okay, so Demon Souls and Dragon Age 1 came out around the same time, and this was like of the era where like it was kind of like you learned a lot about this stuff from like random websites or like game magazines. And I remember seeing Dragon Age and seeing like the characters with just like blood splatter on their faces and stuff, and just being like, so badass, dude. Like I had no idea what it was about. I was just like, this is a fantasy game where you get to like F dudes up and get all bloody. Like I'm totally sold. And yeah, I kind of bought those games around the same time, and it's just so weird that like they're like these franchises are starting to get so old, you know?
Yeah.
It's just surprising that they've taken so long with this new Dragon Age, but I think they had a really like troubled like
road
development as far as I've heard.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I hope it comes out and it's fun, you know. I mean, I'm not ruling it out. Like
did you watch the combat?
Fun. Yeah, the combat looks fun.
It looks fun, but I'm starting to get sick of action games where you just do the same moves over and over to defeat everything. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like you have like 3 hotkeyed moves, and then it's like, I know I'm always gonna sneak behind, stab, dodge away, do some like arrow multi-shot thing. Then you're just gonna keep doing that same thing throughout the entire game. So I mean,
I think with Dragon Age though, there's positioning matters, and like your positioning matters, and your
in the old
order,
ones,
your positioning and who attacks first, who has aggro.
But I don't know.
It
feels like they're going really action-y with the new one. So I don't know. I'll be curious to see if it still has that strategy. Because that's what originally made them fun, was the strategic.
Right. Because you have to send like the warrior in first. The guy with like all the armor and the shield, right? He's like the tank. Otherwise, if you initiate it with like a magic attack, all the enemies will attack you first. And then the tank has a hard time gathering them. Then they all like scatter, and it's like so much harder to manage these fights. I mean, this is on harder difficulties. Like they're so much harder to manage if you're not properly engaging with the enemies. So
I haven't played Dragon. I mean, the last one I played was Dragon Age 3, a long time ago. It was like an early PS4 game, I think.
Dragon Age 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played that one on PC when it came out. I loved the third one. Honestly, I actually loved the gameplay in the second one. I liked all of them. I will say I liked all of them. Yeah. The second one I played a rogue or a thief or whatever, and
I think I did too.
It was so much fun. It was like you could like attack and then like dash behind, like appear behind the next guy. Like it was really fun. The story was trash, but there wasn't really much to it because it was like, okay, you go to like the end of the plaza and you end up in like this like little combat area where you fight enemies and you like leave and you go to the next like town.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe a little more open worldness might be fun, but not too open world.
Dude, man, I played Dragon Age 1 so long ago that I don't even really remember how it. I remember how it plays, but I don't remember like what I did.
There's a map, and I think you pick like I'm going from here to here, and it shows you like what the faction that controls it.
Oh.
The mages versus the Templars type thing.
So there's no like, it wasn't like open really, right?
It was in a sense, but you couldn't like run between areas.
Towns.
It's like you had to pick where you wanted to go.
It's like zones, kind of.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It kind of is like that in 3 as well, but in 3 it's a lot more open world per area.
I remember that being more open.
Yeah. So
interesting. Oh, the last thing I just wanted to say too, because this is one I know I told you about this, but if anyone has played SpongeBob Cosmic Shake, that's what I'm playing right now, is like my chill out game. And I was thinking about it relating to this topic because it's kind of like a sequel to SpongeBob Bikini Bottom, which they remastered also. And that was another instance of like, I really don't think they changed much except just making the graphics way, way nicer. I'm sure the controls probably they tweaked a bit, but yeah, going back to that question from earlier, I do think it's kind of cool that they're remastering a lot of these games, because I think a lot of these games are just stuck in like purgatory on these old consoles, and just porting them sometimes it's like they just do not feel right nowadays, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's like the difference isn't great enough to make me feel like I want to like play it. Like, I don't know, maybe my expectations are like way too high, but it just seems like they just kind of rush out these HD remakes just to kind of like get them out. Like a remake of Link's Awakening was awesome.
Oh yeah, that's probably one of my favorite, if not amazing. My favorite.
That's how it should be done.
Yeah.
That is a model example.
They went ham.
They didn't change really the mechanics that much. They kind of made it so you could kind of go like angle in 8 directions, right?
That's right, yeah.
Which was kind of neat, but at the end of the day, it was the same game.
I want to replay that so bad.
It was so much fun. You know, they need to do that with Minish Cap. Minish Cap was an awesome game, and they need to remake that like this.
I don't think it needs to look like the toy style. I think it could be its own style, but I think just in general, and I guess that's what they're doing with the new Zelda game where you play as Zelda, right? Yeah. Like they need these more handheld experiences in between the big Zelda games.
Right.
And I think Nintendo just needs that in general. And I think they're starting to do that a lot more with Mario. Like they remastered Super Mario RPG. They're putting out the new Mario and Luigi game. Those all feel almost like Game Boy games, but in present day, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like I guess indies are kind of taking care of a lot of those types of games in general. But yeah, it's kind of nice too when you have like the big companies focus on just a smaller experience. Like I don't need 100-hour long game every time I play a game. Sometimes it's nice to just play something for 10, 15 hours and be done with it.
Yeah.
You know? So
I agree.
I kind of miss that about like having a Game Boy, you know? It's just like you kind of just chip away at something for a bit and it's done.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, back in the day, you were always strapped though. You always had your Game Boy on you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
you had
like,
a couple extra carts in your backpack.
yeah, you had like your little like box that had the Game Boy in it with, you know, little slots to put your games in, and you just kind of like, oh, it's, you know, I can kill 30 minutes. Whip out the Game Boy. Oh no, I got red battery. Man, those were the days.
I know, dude.
Now it's like, I don't know. It's not even fun to play games on my phone. Really,
I know. I've kind of
so many other distractions.
Yeah, and I also just feel like there's so many good games out right now that are like real games that I don't want to play a mobile game right now.
I mean, I will say the mobile games are getting better. I originally stopped playing mobile games for a very long time because when they first came out, they were good.
Yeah.
Okay, they were good. Zombieland USA, if anybody knows that one. I mean, there was.
I even remember playing a bunch of like old like RPGs like on mobile, like action RPGs. People were making them like crazy.
No, they didn't. They weren't. The phones didn't have the capabilities to play action RPGs.
Yeah, they were 2D.
2D.
They were 2D action RPGs, but they were always made by like these like Asian companies, and they were very like anime looking, but they felt really really good, and they were like sometimes you had to pay like $1 or $2 for them, but yeah, they don't do stuff like that anymore. It's all about microtransactions.
Yeah, and then after a point, it got literally all microtransactions, and you'd play a game, and every game just became the same game. Like, I remember, this is so silly, but I played this game called Dragon City.
Okay.
It was just one of those, like, gacha games. Yeah. But, like, it was when gacha was becoming big.
Yeah.
And it was, like, it was kind of cool. Like, it was like Pokemon in a way, but it was, like, you kept having to buy these, like, plots of land with, like, in-game currency where you could, like, raise a dragon.
I think I remember. Weren't there like eggs involved?
Eggs involved.
I never played
you buy
it, but
the
I'd
eggs
seen
and
it.
you put them to grow, and then they would evolve. And then you could like take them into PvP battles against other people. And then you could like fuse them. So it was cool.
Yeah.
But eventually got to the point where like I was just spending money, like a couple bucks like a month to like get upgrades or like for nothing. And it was just like not a fun experience anymore. Or like here's another really big pet peeve of mine: the cluttered UI.
Oh yeah,
drives me insane.
Oh, I know.
Like I boot up one of those games. If I boot up your game and I see just like click here to get your treasure chest for the day, that one's maybe okay. Then there's like 4 other like click here. Oh, the daily like message of the day. Oh, the friggin' developer got new shoes. Okay, like I don't care. Go to the next thing.
Yeah.
Oh wait, you got a daily spin today. Click it. Okay. The game's frozen. Okay, it finally comes back. Click X, an ad comes up. Like, let me play the game.
I know.
And get rid of the stupid UI.
I know. When I play those games, I always have this habit of like, you boot up the game and you have to claim everything. And by the time you're done claiming everything, it's been like 15 minutes already. Yeah. And then you're like, I'm already bored. Like, and then you just keep being in that cycle. You're like, you never actually get to play.
Yeah.
You're just collecting the 16 different types of currencies.
They did this in Duel Links too, and this is part of the reason I stopped like playing it on my phone really, because like when there's events that happen like every 2 weeks, so it's fun that they're like always making you events to keep people interested, but it's like you boot it and it's like 2 anime characters talking for like 10 minutes because it's like a scenario, and some of them you can't skip. So I'm like sitting there like clicking, and then it's like you got 100 gems, you got this, you got that, and it's like, do you want to go to the store?
Yeah.
You spend your gems?
They always give you like gold or some like basic thing, and you end up acquiring like hundreds of millions of this currency, and it's impossible to spend it on. It's like, why even have that?
Yeah.
I know there's psychology behind all of this stuff, and that's why they do it, but it just sucks. It makes it not fun.
Yeah, it makes it not fun. And, you know, it's, man, it pisses me off, honestly. Like, because honestly, like, I don't know who's behind these like monetary mechanics, but it's like at least give the person like a pack a day or something, to come online and play. Like you get on and they give you like, for example, it takes 50 gems to get a pack of cards. You get on, it's like, here's 10 gems.
Yeah.
Why don't you just give me a pack?
I know.
Like at least I can go in and open it and like maybe I'll get something nice.
The best one I've ever played that feels really rewarding and feels like you get a lot is the Final Fantasy Tactics, like I forget what it's called, but the mobile game of that, like you get a lot of character units in that. There's still a lot of like weird currencies and stuff, but it feels like it doesn't take a lot to get a new character to play as. Where it gets crazy is like once you start getting the higher level stuff, it's like you need to keep acquiring the same character over and over again to like merge them, you know what I mean, to make them stronger. And yeah, that's where it gets kind of nuts. But in terms of just like getting new stuff, that one felt pretty good. But in general, it's like I'd rather just them put out a new Final Fantasy Tactics game that I don't need to do any of that stuff.
Right.
I just want to play it.
Yeah.
Play the actual game.
That one might be one I'll try, honestly, because I've been wanting to play a Final Fantasy Tactics game for a while.
Yeah.
So maybe that'll just kind of be the one I like. I actually wanted to make a Final Fantasy Tactics style game a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I think I showed you, like, I made like a board game.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
that. Just do a board game.
I know. It's just, the thing is, like, I don't really play those kinds of games, really, and I feel like I'm kind of like a fraud if I make a game like that.
I feel like, though, if you know video games and you apply those mentalities to a board game, it's not too dissimilar of logic. As long as it's fun, it's like...
But for me, it's more like, it would be fun to make the game, but not so much to play it. I don't know, I just... You know what I mean?
I guess, yeah. Oh,
I guess I would want to make a game that I'd want to actually play.
Yeah.
But maybe if I played the tactics and some more of those games, I'll be more interested in actually making something I like.
This is such a tangent. But it's like I want to like get into one of those kinds of... I think I'm just on my computer so freaking much that sometimes I'm like, I want to get into like a super deep like
game.
Dungeons and Dragons kind of board game. Like there's this one I keep seeing at Target. The box is like this fat and it comes with like a manual and there's like actual like quests and stuff, but it doesn't need a dungeon master.
What's it called?
I forget what it's called, man, but
Wormspan?
No, it's like a fantasy one. You have miniatures and like there's tiles and stuff to move around, but it's kind of like instead of having a dungeon master kind of tell you the story, it's like you actually go through a manual and you kind of play cooperatively to get through the scenarios. That just sounds so cool. I don't know. Such a tangent. But yeah, I think this is probably a good place to end the episode. So yeah, guys, just let us know in the comments what game you'd like remastered. We're curious to hear what you think. Go check out Traveler's Refrain on Steam. You can still play the demo. And we will see you guys next week.
See ya.
Bye, guys.